Today's episode of the DTFH is brought to you by Tracker.com. Go to Tracker.com, use offer code Duncan. You'll get 20% off of their amazing Bluetooth tracking device. Imagine a life where you can get stoned and not lose your keys. It's possible. Go to Tracker.com, offer code Duncan. You'll get 20% off. Hello, my dear, sweet, and beautiful children of the noontime doom bloom. Boy, do we have an occult blazer for you today. Today's guest is a world-renowned channeler, and this is the very first time on the DTFH that I have ever had multiple guests in one body, because not only is Paul Selig with us today, but also the guides are here, the beings that come through Paul Selig and have used him to write 5 books. Channeling, right? It's weird, and I bet a lot of you are quite skeptical about it. I remain agnostic. I was in the presence of this phenomena, and without ruining or spoiling it for you, because I don't want to set any kind of preconceived notions in your head about what you're about to hear, I will say that sitting next to him was incredibly intense. There was definitely a feeling of something coming out of him that was more than words. And, what that is, I don't know. I'll tell you this. One thing's for certain, anthropologically, there is a precedent in human history for shamans to become conduits for entities that give direction to the tribe. This is not a new phenomena. It's been happening for a long time. It happens in many different religions, both indigenous and established religions. So I think even the Dalai Lama has an oracle that channels beings that give the Dalai Lama guidance. So as far out as something like this may seem, it's not a new thing. It's been happening for a really long time. And so I'm not going to say much more about it except that sitting next to him was supremely intense. And I think it was also really intense for a lot of people in the audience at the live show at the Bell House. So strap in, friends, because you're about to have whatever calcified barrier is grown around your quivering little pineal gland blasted to smithereens by today's guests, Paul Selig and the guides. We're going to jump right into it, but first, some quick business. This episode of the DTFH was made possible by the geniuses over at Tracker.com. 8 years ago, Tracker changed everything when they released their first tracking device, and now they've done it again with the all-new Tracker Pixel. With Tracker Pixel, you'll never worry about losing your things again. It's the lightest Bluetooth tracking device on the market. Place Tracker Pixel on whatever you tend to lose. Keys, wallet, your dog. It's small enough to fit anywhere. When you misplace an item that has a Tracker Pixel attached, use your smartphone and a 90 decibel alert will help you find it in seconds. It even has a powerful LED light so you can find anything in the dark. You can even locate your item if it's miles away, because every Tracker user is part of the largest crowd locate network in the world. It's like Waze for finding your thing, and Tracker's 30-day money-back guarantee means you truly have nothing to lose. Friends, there's a lot of THC in my bloodstream a lot of the time, which means that I am constantly losing my phone. It ends up in cushions or underneath books, or I'm losing my keys. But this thing's super cool. Check it out. When you press the Tracker button on this beautiful, tiny little James Bond level bit of tech gear, listen to this. Your phone dings. And check this out. When you go to your phone and whatever you have your Tracker attached to, just press this button. Listen to that. It sets a little alarm off. This thing is this is a life changer for me. I spend 70% of my life looking for my keys. I'm going to have 70% extra time now. There's no telling what I'm going to be able to do. If you go to tracker.com, you can enter promo code Duncan and you'll get 20% off any order. That's tracker.com, promo code Duncan. You'll get 20% off this beautiful tracking device, which no doubt is going to save my ass at Burning Man, where I'm headed off to right now. Tracker.com. Give them a shot. It's super cool. I don't promote anything on this podcast that I don't actively use, and Tracker is a life-transforming bit of technology. I hope that you will try it out. A gigantic thank you to all of you who have been subscribing over at patreon.com. If you go to patreon.com/DTFH, you will have instant access to monologues and to a lot of stuff that just doesn't make it on the main feed. Also, anytime I do an interview, I upload it to Patreon right away. So podcasts end up there early, so you can have early access to podcasts, along with a lot of other stuff. We're almost at 500 subscribers now, which is pretty exciting to me. It is the number one way for you to support the DTFH. Patreon.com/DTFH. Also, much thanks to those of you who continue to use our Amazon link, which is located at duncantrussell.com. Anytime you go through that link, Amazon will give us a very small percentage of anything you buy, and it costs you nothing. We also have t-shirts, posters, stickers, and a lot of other cool stuff located at the shop at duncantrussell.com. Okay, friends, let's do this. Today's guest is a medium and channeler who has channeled 5 books. You can find out everything you need to know about him by going to paulselig.com. Links will be at duncantrussell.com. Much thanks to Ken Jordan from the Alchemist's Kitchen for hooking this up. And as always, much thanks to the Bell House for allowing us to do live podcasts there. I'm going to Burning Man. I'm going to be traveling a little bit, so we're taking a little hiatus, but we should be back right around probably October and December. The dates will be at duncantrussell.com when they happen. Also, thank you, Emil Amos, who you're about to hear play some beautiful music at the beginning of this episode. All the links you need to get to Emil and Paul will be at duncantrussell.com. Now, everyone, please spread out your astral wings. Send that sweet beam of heart love erupting from the Yellowstone geyser of your heart, and let it spread through the universe to intertwine and wrap around Paul Selig, Emil Amos, and the beautiful guides. Welcome to Alive DTFH. Here we go.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Duncan Trussell Family Hour podcast. Per usual, we are going to start the show with the wonderful and amazing Emil Amos. Okay.
I found him by the stage last night. He was breathing his last breath. A needle full of heroin was all that he had left. I can tell that you make music because you carry your guitar. But heaven save the troubadour that wants to be a star. So play those chords of love, my friends. Play those chords again. But if you choose to keep your souls, don't. Don't play those chords of fame, chords of fame, chords of fame. They'll rob you of your innocence, they'll put you up for sale. The more that you will find success, the more that you will fail. I've been around, I've had my share, and I feel I can't complain. I don't see anything true or pure on that other side of fame. But play those chords of love, my friends. Play those chords again. But if you choose to keep your souls, don't. Don't play those chords of fame, chords of fame, chords of fame, chords of fame. This is like an avant-garde thing I do. Last time I forgot the words, because I've been playing a lot of covers. And some girl sitting right here was like, "You got this?" No. Wait, you remember this story? Shit. Oh, she was like, "Play something else, dude." I was like, "God, you're so patient when you're oming." But not when you're anywhere else in life, right? In lines and shit. This is an ancient song. It's one of Duncan's favorites. It's 20 years old, and I have trouble playing it. because of what it's about. I looked as hard as I could to my perverse nightmares. I came out looking like the saints. And everyone I know that still believes in evil, they have so much to learn. I've been a rebel against what is vicarious life. I got to get the quick conduct tonight and discard all habits you will need. 'Cause I love everything, and I know that's not easy to say. I love everything, and sometimes I'm wondering if it's not something you all wanna hear. So I'm gonna believe in tomorrow. I'm gonna believe in tomorrow, in sheer delight. I've been a rebel against what is vicarious life. I got to get the quick conduct tonight and discard all habits you will need. I love everything, and I know that's not easy to say. I love everything, unless somebody just doesn't wanna hear.
Emil Amos, everybody, let him hear it. Emil Amos. Hi. How's it going, you guys? Wow, cool. Hey, welcome. How are you tonight, you guys? Good. This is so wonderful to see you all here tonight, because this is the most excited I've ever been about any of my live shows. And I think it's a really great time to have this kind of live show. But before I get into that, I want to, how many people are here for the first time? Welcome. So I'm just going to let you know how we do this so that you know what to expect. Basically, what we're going to do is have this wonderful conversation with one of the world's most renowned clairvoyants happens to be with us here tonight, which is really amazingly cool to me. Also, what's super cool about this is that he's agreed to, we're going to take questions at the end. So anybody who wants to talk to him or his guides, there's a microphone here and you'll be able to ask him questions. What's really interesting about Paul is that the way this stuff works, none of it's like, if it comes through, it comes through. If it doesn't come through, that's okay, because Paul, minus the guides, is a pretty awesome fella from my research into him in the few minutes I've had to chill with him backstage. So it's going to be super cool. And before we get the show going, one of the things that I always do at these live shows is to get all of us to do the Om together, and to do that for a little bit longer than any of us feel comfortable doing that for, which is the perfect amount of time to do it. And so after we do the Om, I'm going to do the opening monologue rant thing that you hear if you listen to my podcast. Now, the thing about that is, it takes me a long time to do those, believe it or not. It doesn't just come out of me. It takes sometimes a couple of days of feeling like I'm completely out of my fucking mind, sitting in front of the microphone, trying to say something that makes any kind of sense at all. And so these things take some time, whereas up here, I just get one chance to roll through it. I can't stop and press rewind and listen to it and think, who the fuck do you think you are, man? What are you doing? You're crazy. So, I just like to because I consider podcasting to be a collaborative event. It's not just me, it's me and my guests. It's not just me and my guests, it's the community around the podcast, which is here tonight. So I like to get ideas from you guys about what we should talk about. So does anybody want to give some suggestions about what this opening rant should be about tonight?
Crowley.
What?
Crowley.
Aleister Crowley, okay, that's cool. What's going on in Charlottesville? What do you mean? What? Oh, Charlottesville. You mean where they have that beautiful statue of Robert E. Lee? What a beautiful statue. I mean, what else is there to say? It's this amazing place. I mean, God, I always travel there to look at that beautiful statue of Robert E. Lee. Okay, cool. Yeah, okay. We could do that for a second. Sure, of course. It's obviously floating in all of our heads. No problem. What else? There isn't an environment, man. That's fake news. What else? Summertime zebras in the eclipse. Okay, that's enough. I think I do something with that. All right, cool. Well, I guess we're just going to go ahead and get this thing going, and then we're going to start the Om. So let me get ready to do this. Here we go. Are we recording? Are we cool? Hello, my sweet friends. It is I, D. Trussell, and thou art listening to the Duncan Trussell Family Hour podcast being recorded live from the Bell House in Brooklyn. Yes. Tonight is a very special night because we have a clairvoyant and a channeler here with us tonight, and so I want to set the energy of the room to be as conducive as possible to tuning in to higher dimensional entities. And so I have with us here tonight the perfect man for the job. Everybody, a giant round of applause for Robert Ryan, who's going to lead us in the Om and a prayer. Give him a round of applause, everybody. Oh, wait, shit. Hold on. Don't pray yet, man. I forgot to light the incense. Try to light it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
This is incense that Robert gave me. It comes from Vrindavan, which is where Krishna was born. And that was, his birthday was yesterday. Janmashtami. So this is good shit, man. So I'm just gonna light this and then you guys just pass it around. I mean, you can't smoke it. Obviously.
So since we have a medium coming as a guest tonight, I thought it'd be proper to do evocation to Lord Shiva, who is known as Bhotanath, which is the master of ghosts.
Perfect.
Yeah. Namaste astu Bhagavan Vishweshwaraya Mahadevaya Triambakaya Triparantakaya Trikalagni Kalaya Kalagni Rudraya Nilakantaya Mrityunjayaya Sarveshwaraya Sadashivaya Shriman Mahadevaya Namaha. Om Namaste Astu Bhagavan. Om Namah Shivaya Shivaya Namo. Om Triambakam Yajamahi Sugandhim Pushtivadanam Urvaruvamikavantranam Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat Hara Om Namah Shivaya Shivaya Namo. Om Dat Purushaya Vidmahi Mahadevaya Dimohi Dano Rudra Prachodayat. Om Namah Shivaya Shivaya Namo. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shivaya Namo. Namah Shivaya. So we'll do a group Om together. The meaning of Om is very, very. It's one syllable. It's the monosyllable, but it contains so much. So everyone has a very hard time explaining what it means. But it contains the three letters A, U, and M. And these are sounds that your body can make without your tongue. So it's the three sounds that your body could make not using your tongue. Your tongue makes all the sounds in between for all the syllables. So these are natural syllables. And these sounds exist anywhere that someone spent time doing any kind of inner work. Any realized soul who spent time in quiet comes to Om. With the Christians, we have Amen. With Muslims, we have Hum. In the Hindu faith, we have Om.
And with babies, you have mom.
Ma. You know? So we'll start with 3 deep breaths, and then we'll Om together.
Robert Ryan, everybody. Thank you, man. That was good. You know, I texted one of my friends, what are you doing for the eclipse? And he wrote back, nothing, you fucking hippie. But I'm proud to say that the eclipse creeps me out. I'm proud to say that I haven't reached a place of disconnect with the universe to not feel how spooky this event that is happening is for a lot of different reasons. Just the basic surface level stuff that's happening, which is that hundreds of thousands of people are right now en route, right now probably beginning their travels to get into the line of the totality to watch this eclipse happen. And that's a crazy thing to think. So many of us, you know, like any kind of swarming, flocking, herding species that is summoned or drawn by cosmological influences to flow like a river into a place where the moon is going to perfectly block out the sun. That's just spooky by itself. Like if you were just watching some alien planet and you knew that every once in a while, many of them gathered together to stand underneath nighttime in the middle of the day, that you'd be like, that is a fucking trippy species, man. Why are they doing that? And then when you look into the way some towns are planning on like celebrating it, you know, it's interesting because sometimes like, we're going to have eclipse music. Jimmy Buffett's going to play during the total eclipse. You know, like, and which is cool. But many of my friends that I've talked to, some astrologers, some initiated Buddhists, they've said, this isn't like, a lot of cultures don't consider this a fun day. Like they don't look at this as like what you would necessarily call like a great omen. And for me personally, what's flipping me the fuck out is that it just so happens that preceding this eclipse, we have begun to enjoy something our parents and grandparents used to enjoy a lot more than us, which is the fear of being incinerated by a nuclear fucking blast. That's always fucked up. But when it's happening right before a fucking eclipse, cutting through our country, it's like, come on, who's writing this shit? It's cheesy. It's cheesy, right? Like in a movie, that wouldn't work. Like if you were writing a movie about some potential nuclear Armageddon, you're like, and it's gonna happen right around an eclipse. You'd be like, tone it down, Gerald. No one's gonna buy that shit. And then on top of that, we have this terrible stuff that's happening where what I'm pretty sure is a relatively small group of people, hopefully, even though no amount of them is good, is apparently coming out of the shadows and feeling okay about promoting white nationalism, fascism, and just the general chaos when you watch what happened. It's you know, it's horrifying, really, to think that it's gotten to the point where we're just beating each other with flags. And I'm a pretty positive guy most of the time. And I find myself being a little cynical. I don't know if it's just because I was just in a hotel in Portland watching Fox News, which is essentially like finding where Satan's fucking porta-john is and swimming in it. Why do I smell so bad? It's because you've been swimming in the source of all evil's shit for the last couple of days. But I think a lot of us we're a little rattled right now. And because there's just too many weird things happening all at once. There's a lot of turbulence happening right now. And something occurred to me that really gives me the heebie-jeebies, which is, right now, this is as normal as it's ever going to be. Like today, this is the most normal it's going to be. It's not like at some point 2 weeks from now, a month from now, 3 years from now, we're going to be sitting around like, oh yeah, everything got back to normal after that weird little couple of years. No, the thing that we're in right now is the thing. It's the thing. And by the thing, I mean the thing Terence McKenna talked about, the thing Ray Kurzweil's talked about, the thing that almost every single culture has talked about happening right around this time. It's the thing, you know? And we're all kind of feeling it. And the thing is change. Exponential change. And we're all feeling it. And the big hanging question mark, at least in my head, is what am I supposed to do? What do we do? How much longer do we keep doing this thing? We go to work, we act like everything's cool. Shit, you know, it's just like, I guess the president is like kind of vaguely associated with white nationalists. Like what? Sort of maybe a little bit hesitant when it comes to saying that he doesn't like Nazis, but you know, we're just gonna keep fucking going to work and like doing our thing. Like how, that's the question is, what do we do? Every single day, and when do we do something more? And what is it? Surely it's not going and fucking beating mealy white dudes with bats. Surely there's something more to do than throwing urine on people or beating them into bloody pulps. I don't know. Maybe that's the right response. I don't know. I don't think it is, though. I always think, what the fuck would Ram Dass do, you know? And I don't see Ram Dass in the Antifa wearing fucking bandanas and bludgeoning 21-year-olds dressed like they're fucking, like the way my dad used to make me try to dress. The way they're dressed is exactly the way my dad, when we went shopping, he's like, khaki pants, white shirt. That's your outfit. But are we supposed to beat these kids? Are we supposed to? Last night I was talking to Cora, and I'd worked myself into a froth after looking at like the dumbass who drove his car, the murderer who drove his car into those sweeties. Terrorists, yeah. I wish there was a better name than something even worse than terrorist, you know? Because, what? Nazis, even worse. We need a new word for evil. Because Nazi and terrorist, I think it doesn't even work, you know? It's like Nazi's a dated term for something that happened in Germany. Terrorist is too ambiguous. These people are like... Trump. What? Demons. Go for... I think they're more like golems. You know what I mean? Because like a demon is this like, kind of like... There's something seductive about a demon, right? Like a demon, you know, a demon's gonna fucking like you. When you hang out with a demon, you might be like, you know, this demon kind of makes some sense. I kind of like what this demon's up to, man. It's kind of cool. Like even the fucking Nazis, right? You look at their outfit, not their philosophy. Remove their philosophy and just look at the outfit. And tell me that doesn't look cool as shit, man. Designed by Hugo Boss. Kind of fucking cool. So calling them Nazis, it's like, I don't know, man. They're just, there's nothing, they're like Gollum. They're pathetic. And they're sad. And they're lost. And maybe unconvertible. Maybe really there is no way to sit down with them. Maybe. I don't know. That's one of the big arguments is what? Are we going to fucking sit down and listen to their goddamn economic fucking plan? Really? You want to sit down and listen? You know where this shit goes. We know by now where it goes. And where it goes is not where you want to fucking be. And that's Florida. No, just kidding. Just kidding. I like Florida. These people are like golems, you know? They're pathetic. And I don't mean pathetic like, yeah, pathetic. I mean, they're to... You know, I was just listening to fucking De La Soul, their new album, first track, Genesis. It's this beautiful poem. I don't have it quite memorized. But the poem goes something along the lines of, when do you love something? Do you love something when it's a success, when it's easy to love? No, that's not when you love something. You love something when it's been beaten so fucking bad that it's lost its truth. when it's been beaten by the world so fucking bad that it doesn't know its way anymore. That's when a thing needs the most love. So how do we find a way to love tiki dudes without being contaminated by them, without giving the impression that we embrace or accept or uphold anything that has to do with fascism or oppression? How do you find love for them? How do you find a more nuanced way of dealing with this problem than breaking their fucking heads open and inviting one of them, the inevitable one of them, to do something even worse than driving a fucking car into innocent people? I don't know the answer to that, but here's what's beautiful about tonight's guest. He is a world-renowned clairvoyant and channeler. He has channeled 5 books, and has made contact with, I don't know what the right word would be for it, and I think he'll answer that for us, extra-dimensional teachers. And he's a conduit, and a lot of their teachings are beautiful, beautiful things. And so, everybody, if I could please get a gigantic round of applause for tonight's guest, Paul Selig, everybody, let him hear it. Thank you so much for being here tonight, Paul. Glad to be here. I thought it'd be cool to just start off I don't want to spend a lot of time on biography, but I think for people here who may not be familiar with you, it'd be cool to talk about what it means to be a clairvoyant, a channeler. And my first question for you is, when did it start? When did you realize that you had this ability?
You know, I was raised something of an atheist, and when I was about 25 years old, I was about a year out of graduate school at Yale, and I had hit a real wall. I'd had a list of things in my life that I thought I had to achieve to make me okay in the world. And I got the whole list, and I wasn't okay. And I was a playwright, and I was working on an opera for the Minnesota Opera, and I was stuck in a hotel room, the Gopher Campus Motor Lodge in St. Paul, with a giant gopher on a spit outside my window, and I was unable to find drugs in St. Paul. And, you know, I knew I was in a crisis. I don't know if I could have named the crisis, but I was in one. And the Gideons leave these books in the drawers, you know, and I took it out, and it said, Prayer for People in Crisis. And I read it. You know, I mean, I was a total atheist, but I read the prayer, and 3 days later I heard a voice, which was the first voice telling me to get my act together and how to do it. So, you know...
Can I ask you do you remember what the prayer was specifically?
I have no idea.
Wow.
I have no idea. You know, I mean, I don't remember much about those days, to be honest with you. But I remember that, and, you know...
Where were you exactly when this voice came to you?
I was waking up, and I looked around my room, and I knew nothing was going to change unless I changed. And I heard a voice. And
you heard a voice like...
Well, it's different than what you see. I'm clairaudient primarily. You've introduced me as a clairvoyant, and that's something that I am able to access. But a clairaudient primarily hears. I'm clairaudient and clairsentient. And so when I hear, it's not a voice in the room. It's really like a voice intrudes upon your own consciousness and blocks out your own thoughts. If you can imagine a voice coming to the forefront of your mind that would usually be a thought that you would never ever think yourself, that is not in your voice and is not in your vocabulary even. And that was how it started. A few months later, I went up to the roof of my building in Chelsea. I was living in Chelsea. And it was the night of this thing called the harmonic convergence. It's like 30 years to the week, I think it is now. And I heard people were going to be waking up. And so I had gone from this place of not believing in anything to suddenly believing that there was something, but I didn't quite understand what that could be.
But you, this as an atheist, skeptic, hearing a voice, surely you thought, oh, this is brain tumor, this is schizophrenia.
Well, not yet. I got to that point a little later. I went up to the roof and I asked to be woken up on this night. And I ended up having a bit of an experience that people later said sounded like a spontaneous Kundalini awakening or something called a Shaktipa.
Had you taken any psychedelics?
No. I was quite sober. But, I started seeing lights around people after that. That was the very beginning. And so, what happened up on the roof was I felt all this energy moving up through my body and out through the top of my head.
Were you shaking?
Yeah, I was shaking. My mouth was frozen in an O, and I was sort of rocking in this energy that was just sort of coursing through me.
Were you scared?
No, I wasn't scared. I'd done this little prayer of protection. I'd asked for something, and something was happening. And I think for somebody like me, who wasn't raised with this stuff, I needed something that I could feel or have an experience of to allow me to go on the journey that I've since gone on. But when I started seeing these lights around people, I was hearing, maybe you have a detached retina, maybe you have a brain tumor, maybe, and what I ended up doing was studying a form of healing. It was the height of the AIDS epidemic in New York. It was something that I could do, and that gave me a context for the phenomena. Because I'd heard a voice, I had felt energy, I was seeing these little lights, I didn't know what was going on. But when I started doing the energy work and I had my hands on people, I began to hear things for them. And that was really the beginning of the clairaudience that I have now. So if I had my hand on your chest and I heard the name Billy, I learned to say, who's Billy? And you'd say, my son, my father, my lover, my dog. And as that kept getting confirmed again and again and again, I started trusting the information. And then once I did that, I began to hear more.
Who was the first person that you did this with?
I don't know if I remember the first. I think there was a lot. I was seeing a lot of people when I was volunteering. So I can't say that there was one. There was, I was also taking on what was going on in their bodies at the same time. So I was opening up as a clairsentient without knowing what one was. I didn't know what a clairaudient was. I didn't know what a clairsentient was.
Can you tell me what a clairsentient is?
A clairsentient is clear feeling. So you hear about empaths. I'm an empath sort of on steroids. So I'm able to feel, they call me a medium for the living. I'm not going to contact your dead sister or your dead grandmother, but if you haven't talked to your sister in 3 years, I can probably step into her, I may begin to resemble her and can probably hear what's going on in the dynamic and support you in moving through whatever the issue is.
Let's get this out of the way so that we can go really deep into this, because surely there's skeptics in the audience. How do you address the inevitable skeptical reaction to this? Because we've all been taught, or many of us have been taught, listen, clairaudient, clairvoyant, whatever it is, we've got to, these people, it's not real. They're tricking us. They're using tricks. How do you address that? And I just want to get that out of the way.
It's fine. I don't mind it at all because I was a skeptic myself. What I do isn't, you can't Google it. I can't sort of know who you are, and if you say I'm having issues with my boss and step into your boss and start to resemble him and talk about what's going on in the dynamic and be accurate, there's no way that I could know that. And I've actually channeled 5 books, and the books actually aren't written. I'm literally sitting in a chair with my eyes closed and speaking the whole thing into a recorder or in front of people. I just did a retreat in South Carolina where the guides I work with dictated 100 pages in front of the students over the course of 3 or 4 days. It's still being transcribed by somebody.
What is the difference between that and someone who's just writing? How do you know it's not just inspiration coming through?
Well, I believe in inspiration. I believe that inspiration is a high form of expression. But when I'm channeling, I'm literally taking dictation. And when I'm inspired, I get to sort of collude with it. I can have an idea and then work with the idea. The books actually are all straight dictation. I hear things phrase after phrase after phrase. And when I channel, I whisper the words as they come, and then I repeat them, and it's often coming extremely rapidly. So it's, phrase, 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 and I can't see the whole thing or know how it's added up. People who are hearing it can hear it better than I can until I see the transcript or I listen to the recording afterwards.
Oh, so you're not even aware of how
I'm
it's
aware.
connecting.
I'm not aware of, I'm so busy taking the dictation and trying to get the next phrase that's coming. that I don't have time to really look at the fluidity. You know, if you can imagine reading fortune cookies one after the other as they're handed to you, that's my job during this. You're going to know if it all shows up, you know, in form. So there have been 5 books now, and they're completely unedited. I mean, they literally are the transcripts of the recordings. There's no editing involved. I think in the last book there were maybe 3 or 4 word changes, and that's because I mispronounced a word because I was speaking so fast or jumped over a word.
Okay, I just see. I wish I had it. I left. Sorry, bad interviewer. I had an excerpt from your book. It's amazing. And to think that this is just, you're not working on that, you're not revising.
No, nothing. I mean, you see, this is the difference between the inspired stuff. It was inspired, I'd get to go back and fix it. I'd been a playwright, I know what writing is like. You know, my name is on the cover of these books, but I'm really not the writer, I'm the stenographer at best. You know, that really is my level of participation.
Can you, I want to get this point out of the way. Mm-hmm. Which is, if this was happening to me, I would feel like I was losing my mind. Mm-hmm. So how did you, I guess 2 parts to this question. Mm-hmm. How did you, outside of like having, even if I was getting hits, even if it was like, yes, this person was my grandfather, I would still feel like I was getting, like my life was getting ripped apart.
Well, I mean, as I said, this has been going on in my life for 25, 30 years in one form or another. In my early 30s is when I began to hear, and I started a little group that met in my living room, and we met every week for about 18 years, and people would put $10 in a basket. And it was the laboratory. I was in the faculty of NYU for 25 years. I was not doing this work in a public way or looking to be known.
Do you think you would have gotten fired if you'd started talking about it?
I never did, and finally, by the end of it, everybody knew what I did because I was on television doing this. You know, I was being recorded, stepping into people and being intercut with people that I'd never met and sort of somatizing them. So I don't think I'd ever get another job in academia now because I'm all over YouTube, you know, whispering and talking to myself. And I know how nuts it looks. I'm the first one to admit it. But...
yeah, that's right, because it's like, this is what's, you know, interesting about it, and it's the same with other channelers that I've seen. You wouldn't call the aesthetic cool.
It's not gotten me a date yet. It's never going to happen. It's not. I mean, for me, and if people haven't seen me work before, I'm whispering and repeating. And it's not glamorous. I'm not sort of sitting there saying, the Pleiadians have a message for us all today on rainbows and unicorns. It's this very physical phenomenon.
That's right. And you would think if you were like wanting to be something, that's what you would do. You'd wear like, you'd dress like Parliament. You'd have crystals. You'd like, but it seems that what's happening is coming through you so quickly. Is there discomfort here at all?
It's physically exhausting, but that's also because I do it so much. When I do a workshop or I'm working on a text, it can be 5 hours a day of channeling, which is sort of unheard of. And there's a lot of energy running through me. When I have a bit of a cold today, but if the guides came through, they don't have a cold, they'd be fine. So they'll use or work with me or through me without impairment. I often do my best work, you know, first thing in the morning in front of a group before I've had too much coffee or talked, and they're coming through with complete, beautiful, beautiful lectures, whereas I couldn't even have a conversation like this coherently on my own.
Wow.
But I want to answer one thing. You said, how do you know that you weren't going crazy? Everything that I did in the beginning years was in service to other people. So I was getting the feedback. You see, I wasn't sitting there, and I didn't want to be a channel. I didn't really believe in it. You know, it wasn't my thing, and I was skeptical about it. But I was doing this group for years. But the other thing that I haven't mentioned is that when I do this stuff, there's an energy that comes through that's extraordinarily palpable. So people that have never felt energy can often feel it when the guides do their attunements. And they'll often just do it at the drop of a hat and people can feel the energy. So I was always dismissive of the information that was coming through me because it was coming through me. That was my biggest problem with it. Who am I to do this? But the energy was real and we were all experiencing it.
This energy that you're talking about, I've experienced that from Ram Dass. When you get around Ram Dass, there is a palatable energy the undeniable. There's no way to pretend it's not there. You see people who get close to him, they start crying. They can't help it. And what is that? What do you think that energy is?
Well, I mean, it's the guides, when they work with me, they actually step into me. You know, I've not seen it, but supposedly when there's some stuff that they do when they work with people very directly, my eyes, which are hazel, turn bright blue, a very pale blue.
Your eyes look blue right now.
They're not. I mean, they may, but, you know, I may be more tuned in than I think. But I haven't had blue eyes since I was maybe, 5 years old. They turn kind of dark.
That is really wild.
Yeah, but, the energy itself, whatever it is, the guides bring through the energy. They attune people. The books are all energetic attunements. I didn't start dictating books until 2009. I used to be a heavy smoker through all this, and I quit. Like, I was a 4-pack a day guy. And like in 2008, the guide said, we can't work through you anymore unless you take care of this. And I stopped. And then my energy system, which had been very dampened down, my clairsentience, my ability to feel, and I'm sure that's part of the reason I was smoking so much, was to be less sensitive. Everything took off and the book started coming through.
I got to get some of these guides. They turn your eyes blue, they make you quit smoking, and they turn you into an incredible writer.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's the good news.
What's the bad news?
You end up living a very different kind of life. I mean, this isn't the life that I'd planned for myself at all. I love teaching college. I ran a graduate program at Goddard in Vermont for 18 years. I had a nice life. And I chose, finally, to step into this work fully. At the cost of health insurance and, retirement and all those things that I had thought were important to me. But finally, this became so insistent. I mean, they're delivering a book every year and a half through me. The books take 30 days of dictation at most, 30 sittings. That's it. But the work is coming through with such insistence that I've now sort of accepted that this is what my life has become.
Who are they?
Well, they're a group, they're a consortium. I call them the guides. And they're only called the guides because my ex, Larry, when he found out that I was a psychic, used to say, ask the guides this, ask the guides that. And now they're the guides, and everybody's comfortable with that. It's not some high name, it was convenient. They're teachers, they're teachers. And, the name that's come through, I'm hearing say it, I've known the name for a long time, but I'm not terribly comfortable with names in this stuff because I think people like to attach a lot of meaning and ego and narrative to names, and I think that that's a trap. But the name that they've used is the name Melchizedek, which is a priesthood that's been around for a long time, is my understanding. But that was only in the fifth book, the fourth or fifth book.
Melchizedek? Melchizedek
is the name. As they say, if you want to call us something, you can call us this. Or but they say they're operating at a level of consciousness. They call it the Christ consciousness, and that they're teachers. They use in the very first book the term ascended masters, and they've never used it again because I'm not comfortable with that term. Because again, it's sort of fraught with a lot of narrative and attachments that I don't think are all that necessary. I mean, this is my real feeling. Truth is truth is truth, and I don't care who it's coming from. I tend to be a little wary when I meet people and they introduce themselves and they say, hi, I'm the channel for the Archangel Michael and Mother Mary and so on. So it's like the list of celebrities.
Right.
And I don't think it's about that at all. I mean, this is the name that's been given. I can accept the name. But for me, it's an energy that I'm quite comfortable with now that's very familiar when it works. And it's something to feel, for me, it's an extraordinary experience of sort of being in this kind of union, in this vibration.
Where are they from?
I don't know. It's not like, I don't go there with them. I did an interview recently with NPR, and the guy was like, how come you haven't asked all these questions? And I said, well, I kind of don't want to go there. And the newest book that they're delivering now, and it started 2 weeks ago. They're about 100 pages, 150 pages in already. They're addressing some of this stuff, which is taking me out of my comfort zone. But essentially, it's a higher level of consciousness. The guides don't talk about dimensions. They talk about octaves, as in music.
Like Gurdjieff? Gurdjieff was into octaves. You know Gurdjieff?
I know who he is, but I haven't read him.
Oh.
Yeah. But they talk about octaves and everything. They say like the note C exists in multiple octaves. You can play the note C here in this reality that we know, or you can play it in a higher octave. They're operating at a higher octave, and they're actually lifting us to them through what they say is co-resonance. So they play the higher note up here, which allows us to align to them, and this is actually happening through energetic accord. And they say A-C-C-O-R-D or A-C-H-O-R-D is on a piano. So it's vibrational accord, and they do this through attunements which are spoken. So if people know Reiki and you go to a teacher and they attune you to run the energy, the guides that I work with attune people through language and through what they call claims of truth that literally support the energetic field in aligning to a higher vibration that people can literally feel and then productively work with.
So these are, it seems like they have some intention with us.
Yeah.
They're agents of change or transformation. Mm-hmm. Are they here now? Can I ask them some questions?
I'll step back. I'll do my best, and I'll step back as I can. I should explain to people how I do this. So I've said I whisper the words and I repeat them. When I'm channeling, there are different levels of being receded. Most of the time, if I'm here with you and I'm still present and they're talking, it's like I'm in the front seat of the car with them and I'm turning the wheel over. When I'm lecturing or they're doing a book, I climb into the back seat of the car, and then you really can't shut them up much. So we'll see what happens,
Cool.
but I'm willing to see where we go.
Thank you.
All right.
Paul Selig, everybody, give him a round of applause.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being with us here tonight.
What do you want to go for the questions? They'll come through with the questions. It's not going to feel like a conversation, I promise you.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. What are some pragmatic things that we can do in this turbulent time to create a positive change in the world?
You continue to agree to confirm your separation, and you confirm your separation at great cost. At great cost, the denial of the divine within yourselves, denies you the relationship with the divine, all things with the divine in all things. You say you want union, but like your fights, and you enjoy your separation, and you enjoy your separation. You can learn through these things if you wish it, but the outcome will not be good. But the outcome will not be what you want. There are higher ways to learn than battle with your consciousness. And until your consciousness aligns to the potential that there is no need for war, that there is no need for war, you will continue to claim it because all you've known, because it's all you've known. How do you find peace? How do you find peace? Is that your question? Is that your question? Not in the world, not in the world, within the self, and begin to address it, and then begin to address it as the true self, the aspect of you that knows who he is, in a higher level, is accessible to you, and all of you as well, if you requested and agreed to be as it, and agreed to be as it. Underline that word, as, be as the true self. Be as the true self who is unafraid, not in battle with the self, and consequently agrees to the divine that is inherent, in all manifestation, period. Stop now.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you.
They're nodding. They're acknowledging you.
The question that follows would be, if there is this potential if there is a higher self that we are somehow I guess, separated from or not aware of or haven't aligned with. Why do we resist becoming that thing? What is...
Because you would have to be responsible for your actions, and you don't want to be, and you don't want to be. You like your lies. You like your lies. You like your pleasure. You like your pleasure when you know you shouldn't have it, when you know you shouldn't have it. You deny the divine in others. You deny the divine in others and laugh at them, and enjoy laughing at them, and enjoy laughing at them. If you want to be yourself. If you want to be the true self, that is your inheritance. That is your inheritance. It comes at a great cost. It comes at a great cost, and the cost is the known, and the cost is the known. Everything you ever believed in, everything that you've ever believed is element truth that is not in alignment to truth must be known for what it is, must be known for what it is, and said thank you to, as it's released. As it's released, you can have this if you wish it. You can have this if you wish it. It's not being punished. It is not being punished. It's celebratory. It is celebratory, but you want your anger. But you want your anger. You want your pettiness. You want your pettiness. You like your superiority. You like your superiority. It gives you pleasure. It gives you pleasure. You cannot be the light. You cannot be the light and hold another in darkness, and hold another in darkness. It cannot be so. It cannot be so. If you want the truth within yourself to be revealed, you must become willing. You must become willing to claim the truth in everyone you see, in everyone you see, regardless of how they present or how they claim themselves or how they claim themselves. They're saying, do you understand this?
The truth hurts. Yes, it's beautiful. Yeah, but the fear, the reason that I would be afraid is what about... I don't want to get taken advantage of. If some people, it's with the light that you're talking about, it's impossible. It's impossible for me to see. And if we allow ourselves to...
You don't have to go to dinner with them to know who they are, to know who they are. Do you understand this? This is very important. This is very important. It's not about personality. This is not about personality. It's about yourself. It's about the true self, the divine as you. The divine as you knows the divine in all things, knows the divine in all things. You are not pretending that someone is divine. In fact, they must be. In fact, they must be if they have a soul. If they have a soul and have taken a body and have taken a body. The requirement is simple. The requirement is simple. The divine is present almost in. The divine is present in all manifestation, like it or not, agree with it or not, agree with it or not, as it presents. It's still here. It is still here. When we teach you, we ask you to say words. We ask you to say words to align you to the truth of who you are. If you wish to say the words after us, if you wish to say the words after us, we will attune you. We will attune you to have a tool, and you will have a tool to navigate this claim. To navigate this claim, how do I love the one I see? How do I love the one I see that I dislike or disagree with? How do I encourage myself? How do I encourage myself in the face of vision, in the face of a vision that I seek to deny? The words are very simple. The words are very simple. Say it if you like. Say it if you like. Okay. I know who I am in truth. I know who I am in truth.
I know who I am in truth.
I know what I am in truth.
I know what I am in truth.
I know how I serve in truth.
I know how I serve in truth.
I am free, I am free, I am free.
I am free, I am free, I am free.
Now the claim that you make is claimed by the true self, is claimed by the true self, or the eternal self, or the eternal self, or the aspect of divine as you, or the aspect of the divine as you, not the personality structure, not the personality structure who dislikes others or seeks to be seen as special, or seeks to be seen as special. I know who I am. I know who I am is always true as a claim at the level of agreement, at the level of the agreement of the true self as you, of the true self as you. I know who I am. I know who I am. I know what I am. I know what I am in manifestation, in form and field, in this belief, in this inherited landscape, that we all share, I know how I serve. I know how I serve is how you are most fully expressed as the true self, period. They're saying period.
Wow.
But that's an attunement. That was just an attunement. So they just actually did an attunement with you all, which means Should I explain this? If you
Yes.
wish? They're saying if you wish. So the guides say we're all radios, right? We're always in a broadcast, and the broadcast that we hold is our energy. You know, it's our consciousness. I'm going to ask the whispering over there to stop, because if I'm trying to hear them too, it's a little hard. So what they're doing is they're tuning up the radios that we are with this thing so that we can play a higher broadcast, if that makes any sense. Imagine there's a station that's on the dial that's available, do you understand? But that we haven't been playing because we didn't know we could put the dial there. So they say when you work with this, I know who I am in truth, I know what I am in truth, I know how I serve in truth. You're actually claiming what is always true, and you can also claim it for others. And when you work at that level, you're actually overriding the programming of what they call history or narrative, which is how we seek to impose meaning on everything we see based on what we were taught to believe, or what we're being asked to believe on any given day. Do you understand the difference?
Yes. Sure, yeah.
So that's how it works. So if you don't like who you're seeing, this is how they say it. I'm not saying that I can do this all that well, but the claim, I know who you are in truth, I know what you are in truth, I know how you serve in truth, actually claims the person outside of the bullshit to the essence of who they are. Now, I suppose in order to go there, we have to believe at some level that there's an aspect of the divine in everyone,
right?
Whether or not we agree to it.
Do you find are you able to adhere to the things that these beings are teaching the world?
I'm a lot better than I was with it. I don't think I'm their best student. I actually say, and I make a point of saying when I work with groups, you know, I'm not a spiritual teacher, and I don't want to be, and I'm not a guru, and I never will be. It's not my thing. I do show up for this work on a regular basis, and because of that, I've gotten better. Now, I still enjoy my crankiness and my bitchiness and all of those things, but I also know that that's not who I truly am. Do you understand the difference?
Yeah.
So I can play, I mean, we still get to have a personality, but I do know at a level that I'm far more than what I present. And that was a gift. And the big thing that I've gotten good at, which was one of their easiest teachings, and one of the teachings that they say again and again and again, they say that the action of fear is to claim more fear. And that every time you make a choice in fear, you're calling more of the same to you. Do you understand this?
Yeah.
So, and if you look at your own lives, you know, just ask yourself what the last choice you made was because you were afraid, and see what it got you. Probably it got you more fear. And they also say that there's not a lie that's ever been told that hasn't been said in fear. So I've gotten good at that too. I saved myself a lot of pain. You know, I just don't go there anymore. Now, what I do have the capacity to do is to recognize the divine in others. It's much easier for me to do this when I'm channeling and they're really coming through me, because I'm operating in a higher vibrational field. And it's very easy at that point to forgive everything, because it's my personality self that wants to judge. And the guides say, what you judge, you fear. It's really simple. Then you're right back to the action of fear is to claim more fear. And they say, if you look around you, I mean, when you talked about what's happening in the world, in the very first book that they dictated, which I wasn't expecting, I just gotten, you know, let go of from a writing project. I went to bed for 3 days. And a woman called me up and said, you know, Paul, maybe this would be a good time for you to write your memoir about how you became clairaudient. And I was never going to write again. You know, I was convinced. And the guides piped in and said, no, we have a book to write, and if you take 2 weeks, we'll do it. And that was the first book. It took 2.5 weeks. I took 2 days off to go teach at NYU. Otherwise, it would have been a 2-week, you know, set of sessions. But in that book, they said, humanity is at a time of reckoning. And they say a reckoning is a facing of oneself and all of one's creations. And everything that's been created in fear needs to be recreated in a higher way. And what they're saying now, really, and this was in the last book, there's a really good channel, I like it, but there's a channel, and it's actually up on YouTube, that the guides delivered, I think, 2 or 3 days before the last election in a workshop in Richmond. It's called Great Change. And they pretty much sort of laid out what was coming. And it's a very interesting change.
What did they say?
Well, they said, your idea of choice is I'll have the milk or the cream in my coffee. And they said what you're about to get is what happened when the table that was holding the milk and the cream gets turned over. And you have what you've used to navigate choice and who you think you are starts to go out the window. And they talk about truth as a wave, literally an energetic wave. And that everything that is not in alignment to truth is going to be shaken up, and that includes institutions, governments, religions. But frankly, at a personal basis, we're all having to deal with it at the same time. As within, so without.
Right.
So it's not apocalyptic, but it is pretty much, if you can align to truth yourself, in your own vibration, your own being, you actually get to withstand this stuff a lot better, because you're not going to go into agreement with all the fear. And when they talk about a wave, the chaos that you described earlier really is kind of what we're seeing, I think. But they talk about things being reclaimed in a higher way or known in a higher way. We can't keep pretending that there aren't problems when there have been for forever. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And now it's in our face and we can't get away from it.
Well, and that to me is terrifying.
Productive. Well, they just said productive. Let it be productive. You want to be terrified. If you want to be terrified, enjoy your fear. Enjoy your fear. You will have a nice time in your fear. You will have a nice time in your fear. If you see it as productive, there is still opportunity to realize the truth. To realize the truth in everything you see before you, the divine is you. The divine as you knows the truth when he sees it, knows the truth when he sees it, will not collude with fear, and will not collude with fear. With fear, he has no need. He has no need. He is not afraid. He is not afraid. If you want the invitation to fear, if you want the invitation to fear, you may take it. You may take it. You may learn those lessons. You may learn those lessons. There are higher ways to learn. There are higher ways to learn if you are willing to take the lessons of the times you stand in, as productive, period. They're saying period.
Wow, man. That is so true. I'm like, no, it's really intense. Like you're right. Like your vibe is, you've probably never heard this before, but you're pretty intense, man.
That's them, I think. They're intense.
Yeah, it's a lot to take. It's a lot to take in. And the thing I keep running up against, and I think we'll just keep going around in circles in this one. So they don't necessarily. Obviously, I'm not telling them what to say, but the thing I keep running against is this addiction to fear. It's like this. We are getting off on this shit, man. They're like when they're saying enjoy the fear, they really mean it. I think because
they're saying that the action of fear is to claim more of itself. Do you understand that? So if fear seeks to perpetuate itself, the way it gets to do that is by inviting us to join the party. It's really that simple. Now, what the guides say is that the true self, which is the essence of their teaching, the realization or embodiment of the true self doesn't operate in fear. It actually lives at a different level of resonance. Fear does not exist at the level of the true self. It's just not there. So because it's not there, you're not creating from it, you're not complicit to it, you're not encouraging it. Pardon me. I think that there's a difference between, say, fear and discernment. I live in Manhattan. I have a lock on my door. I don't think that's fear-based. I think that's not that's kind of smart to have. If I'm camping and a bear comes, it's a good idea to run, or to leave, or to do
fight the bear.
Or to fight the bear if you want to choose that.
Right.
But it isn't like the bear is evil. You know what I mean? I'm taking care of myself.
Right.
But I don't think it falls in the same category. It's not about vilifying the bear or all bears. To understand for the rest of the world.
May I ask them a question?
You can try.
In Buddhism, there's this idea of fundamental dissatisfaction, that there's something innately there's something innately something in us that suffers. That being human, suffering for a human is like being wet for a fish. Is there a way to overcome this suffering, to let go of the suffering while still enjoying a human incarnation? Or
remember who you are. This is the key. This is the key. The suffering is the suffering is the suffering of separation aspect of you. An aspect of you remembers joy and love and union in union with its source, which we call source. Whatever you wish to call source, you claim separation. You've claimed separation. You learn through this. But there are so many lessons. But there are so many lessons you could release. You could release if you start to claim who you are. If you start to claim who you are as one of something greater at that level. At that level, the suffering you know of as personality, the suffering that you know of as personality is reclaimed in a higher way. In a higher way, you have an opportunity here. You have an opportunity here in body and form, to learn through everything, to learn through everything. It is the joy of being. It is the joy of being. Suffering is not necessarily terrible. Suffering is not necessarily terrible. It's not a requirement. It is not a requirement of being nearly as much as you seem to think it is, nearly as much as you seem to think it is. You can learn through many things. You can learn through many things. Suffering is one. You can choose something else preferred. You can choose something else if you prefer it. Period.
Wow, man. That is so cool. I am amazed that it's so concise. What's coming out of you is so concise and so kind of perfect. It's like these little data packets that are like so well put together and spontaneous. Do you ever get in the way of it? Do you ever?
Yeah, all the time.
And what happens then when you get in the way of that?
It usually happens during the book dictations or in workshops. Because when I do workshops, I show up, I say hello, I tell my little story, and then I recede. And they come through and they teach everybody, and then they attune them to the energy. And if the guide says something that I can't get behind personally, or really confronts my idea of reality in a way that's too hard for me, they'll say, Paul is interrupting. And then they'll either take my question, and if you look at the books, throughout the books, there are all these interruptions. I'm rarely interrupting in speech. I'm bringing my thought forward and saying, hey, wait a minute, what is this? And for the most part, they have to really take the question in order to be able to move forward. Once in a while, they'll say, we're teaching, and we'll take this up later when we finish our lecture. But I do interrupt. I mean, my name is on the cover of the books. I'm not the author, but I really don't want to be party to something that's going to hurt people or mislead people in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
So if the guides were to say it's fine for everybody to go kill each other, I'd have to go, hey, wait a minute. And then they would have to unpack that. They'd never say it, but they've said things throughout their teachings that I've been very challenged by.
What's an example of that?
Well, in the Book of Mastery, which came out about a year ago, early in the book they said, here's your teaching for the day, nothing is real. And I sort of heard things like that before, so I let it slide. They did their whole lecture. And they started off the next day, and they said, here's your next lesson, everything is real. And I just went, hey, wait a minute. Because in like 5 books, they'd never contradicted themselves. And I thought, this is it, this is the end of it. Because the rule with these books is I don't get to go back and change anything. So if they say that, it's in the book. Whether or not I'm behind it or not, that's the agreement. And my editor at Tarcher Penguin agrees. We don't screw with the teachings. This is how it came out. It's in the book. If it has to have a footnote to say there was an interruption in the room, we would do that. There was sound outside that interrupted the channeling. We probably would do that. But I don't get to take out the line that I feel is wrong. It would have to then be explained. And they did explain it. And actually, later I met this, I did a workshop at the Esalen Institute that I co-taught with this guy, Jeffrey Kripal, who's the head of religious studies at Rice University, and he's a Gnostic scholar, and he says these books are really, Gnostic teachings in present day form. But I told him about that, and he said, oh yeah, that's like, what is it, Meister Eckhart, Christian mysticism. Everything is real in spirit, nothing is real in form, which is pretty much what they were saying.
Right, yeah.
But I didn't know that, so I thought that they were screwing up, so I interrupted.
May I ask them one more question?
Try.
What are your thoughts on the potential for there to be a artificial intelligence on the planet that passes the Turing test, or that is indistinguishable from human intelligence?
They're saying it's impossible in the way you said it, in the way you decide it, the way you think it is, the way you think it is, that the manifestation of artificial intelligence will surpass your idea, will surpass your idea of your potential, but your idea of your potential. But your idea of your potential is so limited, you have no idea what it could truly be, the divine as you, or the miracle of being, or the miracle of being as a soul expressed on a journey will never be imitated, Data can be impressed, logic can be taught, logic can be taught, love cannot, it cannot be taught, it can only be known, it can only be known by one, and it can only be known by one who has the capacity to love, period. I don't know if anybody's ever asked that. I didn't even know if they knew what artificial intelligence was. They call my computer a television still,
Really?
I mean, yeah, mostly, yeah. I say, well, I hear from so-and-so on the television, yeah. So they're not, I mean, lately, once in a while, I'll hear a reference from them to an internet, but it feels very uncomfortable.
Well, it's... Man, that would really suck if they started to use Twitter, huh?
I think it would.
They want to tweet. Well, I mean, if we step back and look at what's happening to you in this experience that you continue to have, and the implications, which is there is apparently this external intelligence that is coming through you, or is inside of you and is yet not you. Well, the implication would be then, why couldn't we build a machine that was so advanced that it could become a pure conduit for these beings, so that they wouldn't have to use humans?
I hear it would not be possible. The energetic system of human being, the energetic system of human being, of the human being is the conduit. This is vibration, and this is in vibration, not in the cells when the cells are used. Although the cells are used, the whole being is utilized. The whole being is utilized when we operate through Paul. But finally we would suggest in the refinement field, it is the refinement of the field that allows the broadcast to attend to you, that allows the broadcast to attend to you in the field itself. And the field itself cannot be manufactured. It's the product of many things. It is the product of many things. Lives lived, yes, but also willingness to be assumed at this level of engagement. You all have capacity beyond what you know, We have come to teach you this. We have come to teach you this. We're going to be taught. If you are willing to be taught, your own realization, your own realization about who and what you are, about who and what you are, is where you need to put your energy, is where you need to put your energy, not in a figment or a structure, or a machine, outside of yourself, period. And they're saying period.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did they think that there are living on the planet right now? Do they think that there are awakened beings that are on the planet right now, or enlightened
I don't know if I want to go here. Yes, they're saying yes, there always are. There always are. They're rarely known, and they are rarely known by any of you, because their responsibility is to hold the planet, and their love in their love. That is why they come. That is why they come, to hold the planet in its potential, They are usually kept separate from population, from a population they're serving, and they are serving in witness every day. This is a karmic choice. It can be made. They're always present. They are always present at different ends of what you know of as your world, but they're in service. But they are in service. They don't write books. They don't say hello on the street. They don't want your money. They don't want your money. They have a life. Of great joy in service, but in their awareness of the divine and its permeation of all manifestation. They support the world. They support the world in its own realization, of its potential, period. And they're saying period.
Wow. Yeah. That is fascinating. I wonder that's such an interesting idea. It really is, and I wonder, they say they've been placed here. Who placed them there? Who's running the show?
Karmic choice. Well, they're saying karmic choice at a soul level. At a soul level, you've all claimed the lives you are living, and the embodiment taken. And the embodiment you've taken has been your expression. Why should it be different from them? Why should it be different for them? Period. Say this. They're telling me to say this. There's another thing that I think is important. I've heard that only like once before, and I was better with it when they said it just now, but they said it for the first time in a workshop in Los Angeles a few years ago, and I thought it just sounded nuts. Like, there was, somebody living in a cave someplace.
Right.
And I didn't get behind it.
Briefly, because this thing, I asked this very question at the Ram Dass retreats that I go to, and the answer was they're living in caves.
Well, that's it. Yeah, well, that's pretty much.
And I was like, what do they like about caves? It seems like I think
it's about being out of the world in essentially, I want to say either ecstasy or prayer or some, I don't know, because I'm not the expert on it. I know exactly what you know, and I'm only remembering one other channeling from about 3 years ago where it was addressed. But I think something that's important is that we relegate what's important in certain ways. So that is an important expression of the divine, or that is an important way to serve. And I wouldn't disagree with that if in fact that is so. But frankly, somebody who's teaching high school someplace is expressing themselves perfectly as well. Do you understand?
Yes.
So we have to watch out for the spiritual ego stuff.
Gotcha.
Because that's a whole other trap, I think, to get into.
Okay, I feel like I'm hogging your guides a little bit, but I do have just one more question that I have to ask, and then I think it would be great to open the floor up for questions. Is that okay if we have some questions? So, and I have to ask this because I don't know when I'll ever get a chance to be around guides again, but forgive me.
Okay.
Are we going to see aliens?
What I hear is they're already here. They always have been, and they always have been. So stop trying to look for for what's already present. None of you are who you truly think you are anyway. So the otherness of alien is attractive to you, when in fact the idea of extraterrestrial life is as present on this plane as anywhere else. We will simplify the answer. Yes, they are here. Yes, they are here. Yes, you will know. Yes, you will know, but perhaps not in the way you think you should, but perhaps not in the way you think you should, as you attune to the higher vibration, that is in your inheritance. That is your inheritance. What you become visible with are other things that operate in higher ways, as you expect alien life. You expect alien life to have form as you do, to have form as you do. Conscious without form, consciousness without form is present here as well, is present here as well. That is how we operate through Paul. That is how we operate through Paul. We use the form, but we don't require it. But we don't require it to be ourselves, to be ourselves. Don't limit God. Don't limit God. Don't mandate what things should look like. Don't mandate what things should look like because what's there, because you will miss what is already there. Period, 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 period.
Wow. That's so cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Wow. One more round of applause for the guys from Paul, please, guys. Wow. So, friends, we're very lucky to be here tonight with this person, and there's a microphone here. Those of you who want to take the opportunity of communicating with these beings, please come to the microphone and feel free to ask a question. Or if you want to ask my guides a question, go ahead, but they're not as good.
Hi, Paul. Thank you for being here.
And just sorry, very quickly, guys. I think we have, if you could just give me, we have about probably 30, I don't know how much more time. We have probably 30. 35. We have 35 minutes. Can we do that? Do we have 35 minutes?
Yeah.
Have that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 35 minutes. They're going to light me, which means that if we run out of time, we run out of time. So please, thank you.
So in this incarnation, as we seek to find our true selves, is it possible for us to support someone in their pursuit of their true selves? And if so, how do we do that without imposing our own judgments on them?
By knowing who they are, and not dictating who they should be. Those are very different things. When you know who somebody is, you are supporting them in their realization. Knowing who they are means knowing who they are means the aspect of the divine as them. The aspect of the divine as them can be witnessed by you, and its realization will support them. Will support them in their development. If you seek to dictate how somebody should grow, you're limiting them. You are limiting them by your identity imposing itself upon them through expectations. Period. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hello. This is really awkward to ask, but as I understand, Jesus was an enlightened master. So was he like a channeler like you are, or was he just feeling this vibe heavy without like thinking it was coming from him?
They're saying he realized the Christ, which was his true self. It is your true self as well, but everyone else is. The divine as you. The divine as you, or the Christ itself, the eternal self. The eternal self is your inheritance. He was the manifestation. He was the manifestation of it and showed the way to glory. And showed the way to glory through identification with the true self, with the true self. As you can. You must understand this. You don't become the Christ. You don't become the Christ. The Christ becomes you. The Christ becomes you. The divine as you. The divine as you. The alignment of the will. The alignment of the will. The braiding of the will. The braiding of the will. The absorption of the will. The absorption of the will by the aspect of you. By the aspect of you who knows who and what he is. Who knows who and what he is. His true realization. His true realization. The Christ as man has been this teaching, We use the word Christ, but we mean it very specifically, in a very specific way. The Christ is the aspect creator. The Christ is the aspect of the creator that can be realized, in manifestation as who and what you are, as who and what you are, all of you. That was the gift of the Jesus teaching, which unfortunately has been transformed into something rather different, period.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Just one quick, is everyone hearing this okay? Is the microphone as loud as it needs to be? Okay, great. Thanks. Cool.
First, I just want to say thank you for doing this for us. So I've always considered humans as a social creature and civilization being a natural byproduct of that. What I've kind of heard from the guides today is that to be a ascended being, you need to step away from that. Is that almost
step away from society?
Yes, from society.
I hear not in the least. You're here for a reason. You are here for a reason. Cosmos in consort with your fellows. We don't say you become ascended. We don't say you become ascended at the cost of the world, at the cost of the world, but perhaps the world's known, but perhaps at the world that you've known, that you have known. The divine is present. The divine is present in all things, in all things. Its realization through you supports a world in transformation, supports a world in great change, Your presence that's required is actually required to bring the kingdom into manifestation, The kingdom as we teach is the awareness of the divine in all things, So you don't need to run. So you don't need to run, but you need to release. But you do need to release what you think you are, what you think must be so important, what you think must be so important, must be claimed, or must be claimed to make you who you think you are. When you become willing to release your ideas, of who you should be, you can claim your own truth. You can begin to claim your own truth, period. And they're saying period. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, guys. This is such a pleasure. So the other night I had probably the most intense, longest lucid dreaming experiences ever, and I can't stop thinking about it. Just wondering, what's up with dreams? What can we learn from them? That's about it.
I don't talk much about them, I was at this retreat center in North Carolina working this last week, and because we were in North Carolina, I said, let's go barbecue like a pig on a spit. It was a vegetarian retreat, so I was just being obnoxious by saying that. And that night I had a dream that somebody showed up with a bag, and I opened the bag, and it was a roasted pig's head, and it was being handed to me to eat, and I realized I didn't want it. And actually now I don't want to eat meat at all, so that may have been the message. Lem, can I have your name?
Alex.
Your last name, okay?
Alex Dunn, yeah.
Alex Stone?
Alex Dunn, D-U-N-N, yeah.
Let me see if I can get it just for you. You actually come through saying, I need everything to come to me in a way that I understand it, or I'm going to get confused. That's how I hear you. I don't want to know things I can't know. And you're also saying, I don't want to know things I can't know. So the dreams are opportunities to understand. I hear your dreams are an opportunity for you to understand. I also hear that you work with them intentionally so that you can claim the meanings. They're saying that this is productive for you as a way to investigate not only meaning, but what reality is, but what reality is. So be purposeful. They're saying so be purposeful. It's a healthy tool for you. It's a healthy tool for you, not for everyone, but for you it's beneficial. They're saying for you it's beneficial. Okay?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Very quickly, did I tell them the dream I had about you?
No.
This thing happened because of a dream, just so you know. But we were going to do a podcast, but we hadn't confirmed a date, and I'm terrible at emailing, and it's awful, it's obnoxious. But I had this crazy dream about you. Crazy, and you were sitting across from me, and you were being at the time it was your guides, it was this thing, but you were being very stern and intense with me, we need to talk. And then I woke up and was like, maybe you'll do a live podcast. And this happened because of a dream. So thanks for that question, but yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Cool, thanks for coming, guys. Question for me, as I've learned tonight, we're all going to work on not operating from a place of fear, operating from a place of love and these things, not giving into the divide. How do we go about, communicating and learning to understand with the people on the other side of these interactions who have given over to fear and, given up on the possibility of love? And how do we...
They're saying it's a very interesting question, rarely in the way that you think. You can't convince anybody of anything. You can't convince anybody of anything. Do you know this? Do you know this? You can think you do. You can think you do, but that is the intellect. But that is the intellect and what's required. And what is required is a change of knowing, is a change of knowing when someone knows. When someone knows in their heart there is a change. There is a change of being, and consequently a change of expression, how they encounter others, and how how they encounter others, their lives and their world, their lives and their world. When you meet someone in discord, you claim the discord, and you claim the discord, you claim the dysfunction, you claim the dysfunction and relish it by saying it is there, to know someone outside of who they think they are, outside of who they think they are, would have you know them as, or would have you know them as, is a responsibility, the claim we gave you earlier. The claim we gave you earlier, I know who you are in truth, I know who you are in truth, I know what you are in truth, I know what you are in truth, I know you serve in truth, I know how you serve in truth, said silently will align both you and the person before you, will align both you and the person before you to a higher level of exchange. This happens in the field. This happens in the field, not in the personality structure, not in the personality structure, which I may attend, but the personality may attend to the shift in the field, as you know it, knowing who somebody else is, knowing who somebody else is claiming them outside of their identity, the personality structure, where the level of discord cannot be operative. Do you understand this?
I do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi. I was just curious if any of you, Duncan, Paul, or the guides, had any thoughts about Valus, the voice that spoke to Philip K. Dick for a while.
I have a friend, Eric, who wrote a book, and I'm forgetting his name, which is embarrassing because you're probably going to hear this. Eric Davis, who is a Philip Dick scholar. I've heard about it. The guides have never talked to me about it, but I've actually heard that there's similarities in how I've operated and where he was going. The guides have made a point, and maybe this is to protect me, at a personal level, of not sort of commenting on other channels. It's sort of not something that they do. It's just sort of, not their stuff. I'll ask, Philip K. Dick was learning in his lifetime, as are all of you. They're just saying Philip Dick was learning in this lifetime, as were all of you. Some of you would tend to higher frequency. Some of you would tend to higher frequency at the cost of your health. At the cost of your health, that would have been the case with him. That would have been the case with him. You have to learn how to integrate. You have to learn how to integrate the high vibration to sustain it, We were assumed by energy. When you are assumed by an energy that is operating through you, you must find balance. You must find balance and integration to be in the world, and sustain the form, as a conduit for what seeks to be expressed, to what seeks to be expressed, period. So that's their commentary, okay?
Cool, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Hey, thank you guys for doing this. This is awesome.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. Hey, Paul, this seems physically intensive. This might be an easy one for you, but have you ever gotten sick doing any of this?
Yeah, but only because I don't get sick from channeling. I get sick from, I think I have to process a lot, and I've started doing much larger groups recently, and I'm learning what it's like to hold the energy for a large group. It's a different experience for me. When I was first doing hands-on energy work back when I was in my 30s, my ego would get in the way sometimes, and I would say, I want this person to get better, and then I would use my own energy and deplete myself, and then I would get sick. And you're not supposed to do. I learned you don't do that. When I'm channeling, I'm not doing that at that level, but it's a physically intense process. And I think and frankly, it's much more fluid than it used to be. There are videos of me channeling from 5 years ago where I look like I'm at the Wailing Wall. My body is rocking, not almost violently at times, but that was my way of sort of holding that energy that was trying to move through me. Now, it's a little jerky, but that's about it.
Wow, thank you. I have a quick question for the guides. Ram Dass has said he has heard or have spoken to a spiritual entity he calls Emmanuel, who says that death is like taking off a tight shoe. Do they have any thoughts to expound on that for us?
You can take off any You can take off anything you like. A tight shoe is one example. A tight shoe is one example. This is one level of experience when you lift from this plane. When you lift from this plane, you disembody, and you reclaim yourself, and you reclaim yourself in a different octave. It's nothing more than that. It's nothing more than that. Your idea of a body is an interesting experience. It's an interesting expression. You are so much more. You are so much more even in form than you experience yet than you have experienced yet. The release of the body. The release of the body is simply a passage. And nothing more. Period. And they're saying period.
I wish my parents told me that. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Maybe if we switch the mic to the other side.
Sure, I'm happy to try. We're going to switch the mic to the other side because I'm leaning this way. Okay, sure. Hi.
Hi, I got a simple question. What drugs do I take to get in touch with these spirits?
I'm going to be honest with you. It's when I stopped that everything started. And that's really what happened. So I was more than happy to be in my version of an altered state. And when I stopped, the sensitivity that I think was always present became known and was highly uncomfortable. So I can't speak to that. And I've not explored plant medicine or any of those things for any number of reasons. But part of the reason is I don't know how I'm wired for this. And my hunch is that I'm kind of wired up at this point to be able to operate this way. And I haven't been called to do it. So if I were, perhaps I would. Let me ask if there is a drug. No, there is not. No, there is not. But it's all you can ask. They're saying, but you can ask to be worked with, and be willing to go on the journey with it, and then be willing to go on the journey with it. Period. And they're saying, period. Okay.
Hell yeah, sobriety.
Funny. Hi.
Hi. Thank you both. You've mentioned fear endlessly throughout this podcast. I wanted to ask, fear is used as a motivator for profoundly negative things. How can we use fear in a positive light to attempt to change every person that we meet that tries to use fear as a leverage for evil and inconsent?
They're saying you can't use fear to transform fear. It's impossible. It's impossible. Fear agrees with itself. Fear agrees with itself. That is why you have all the problems in conflict. That is why you have all the problems in conflict. Nobody ever wins. Nobody ever wins. You think they do. You think they do, but conflict is outpictured. But conflict is just outpictured in other ways. Is your real question, how do we change the world? How do we change the world? How do we enlighten the world? How do we enlighten the world? We'd like to answer that. We would like to answer that. We're not going to like the answer, but you're not going to like the answer. It means you let go of who you think you are. It means you let go of who you think you are, demand other people to be, and demand other people to be, to realize them in truth, underline the word truth, underline the word truth, and truth, a lie cannot be held. In truth, a lie cannot be held. Know those words. In truth, a lie cannot be held. In truth, a lie cannot be held. And what is a lie? And what is a lie but fear? Who you think you are, have assumed yourselves to be, or have assumed yourselves to be, are ideas. They are not truth. When you move to truth, you can support a world in change. You can support a world in change. You are far greater beings than you know. You are far greater beings than you know. You have yet to claim your full inheritance. You have yet to claim your full inheritance. We will support you as we can. We will support you as we can in doing thus. Period. They're saying period. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you both so much. My question is, in these discourses, do you ever have discussions of other enlightened beings like Christ or Buddha or other incarnations of self-realized beings? And do they ever reference them?
Yeah.
Or did they ever talk about them being just branches of the same tree of ways to get to your true self?
Yeah, they do. And that's pretty much exactly what they've said. I mean, they've talked about, Jesus specifically in a couple of texts, and in the newest one, which is being delivered now, they did a long section on Jesus and what that means, truthfully, as sort of. The teaching's so new I don't remember what they said, so I can't get into it now. But they have said that throughout, and that they've also said that he's not the only one, or not the only way. Do you understand? He's not the only one who was awakened at that level. But yeah, they're not, they don't go into detail about other religions. They don't go into detail about politics either, but they really do talk in large and actually very specific ways about structures that we've inherited, religious structures, political structures. Pardon me?
Like archetypal.
Yeah, but essentially, they say that we're always dining out on yesterday's dinner because we expect to get what we had yesterday. We just do. Because it was there, we expect to see it again. And really the thumbprint, they say, of every bank is on, of everybody who's ever entered a bank is in every bank that you walk into. They say like the first bank was somebody holding some hunter's purse when he went into the woods, with his stick. That was the bank. Do you know what I mean? But what things have become is what we've made them and what we agree to. So I'm getting too abstract now. But they're talking about all of these structures as being re-understood, re-known in a higher way, including religion.
Great. Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much.
Yep. Hi.
Hello. Duncan, awesome. Paul, incredible. Very simple. Obviously, you're taking these complex ideas from maybe a different dimension, reality, whatever you want to call it, and you're using our language to communicate it. So I'm just curious to see, what do you feel is maybe lost in translation, or do they have any idea of how maybe moving in the future or now, whatever, that you can fill the gaps?
Well, I mean, I can talk about how language is worked with here. They're utilizing my own vocabulary, and occasionally they'll use a word that I know is a word, but I don't know the meaning of it. It's a word that I've heard, and then I'll be panicked when I hear it, because I don't know what it means. But I think that is a limitation. They actually say that, the books that they write are energetic attunements. So people, if you go to the reviews on Amazon, you'll see people saying, I'm reading the book and my body's vibrating. I'm reading the book and I'm seeing auras. There's all this phenomena that's attached to this work. And the guides say the real book is written in energy. And language is the way that you can have sort of a conscious application of it, or a context, an intellectual context for the teaching. There are times when I've channeled, it's only happened I do the whisper and repeat, I'm used to it, it's effective for me. There are times that I channel directly with no repetition, and then it's like I'm in a blackout almost. I don't remember anything, it's freaky to me. It's a very out of control feeling. And there are times when they've been teaching through me when they've given up on language and moved to sound. And they just work in tone for the whole room. And it's trippy as can be, And I'm sure it's very effective in its way. But I think what's happening then is they're taking us out of the small mind into a higher way of being and expression. Much of the work that they do is in vibration in ways that people can feel. And they did that little one attunement with you, but another time we would probably get the whole room running the energy and working with each other, because that's something that can happen as well. So language is one way that this operates, not the only way.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Hey.
Yeah. How do we start listening to consciousnesses that do not have bodies?
I'm sorry, once again?
How do we start listening to conscious beings that do not have bodies?
I'm sorry, is that Mike? Is it still?
Yes,
It's on?
Perfect. Good?
There, I got it.
How do we listen to conscious beings who do not have bodies? How do we start that path?
Well, I don't know if it's necessary or a requirement. I think what's most important is that people learn to listen to themselves. And I would say their true self. I happen to be a channel, but clear cognizance, which is clear knowing, is one of the highest gifts that there is. And, I'm going to just do this for a second because you asked this. Okay. If everybody who's listening to this, just take a moment and think of a time in your life when you knew something, like you knew it, like I knew I lost the job, I knew I was in love, I knew my friend was sick, you knew it. And then remember what that feels like. And then go to a time in your life Well, let's go to something that you think. I think I know what I'm doing after this podcast. I think I know what I'm going to eat for lunch tomorrow. I think I know where my best friend is and what he's doing. And see if you can feel the difference between the two. Mostly you can. And thinking is up in your head, and when you know, there are no more questions. When you align to your own knowing, you begin to access knowing or information in a very different way than you do through the personality or small self. Now, I'm going to ask the question about how do you hear disembodied beings ask. They're saying ask, and then be respectful, and then be respectful of the process that you will encounter, that you will encounter. It's not a requirement. It is not a requirement for growth, and be conscious of who you hear, and be conscious of who you hear. Be wary of any voice that would seek to get you frightened, that would seek to get you frightened. That is not a high voice. That is not a high voice. Do not attend to it. Do not attend to it. Listen to a voice of reason. Listen to a voice of reason who does not flatter, who does not flatter or fear. And you may have a teacher, and you may have a teacher, but to know the true self, will give you what you're asking, will give you what you're asking in a more beneficial way, period. And that's them, period, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Hi.
I actually had a question that was very similar to his, and I just want to almost kind of clarify.
Sure.
I've had some experiences in my life where I felt like I was being communicated with in subtle ways by people who've passed.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to know if there's any way to kind of dig a little deeper with those experiences and and communicate on a more clear level with those.
Yeah, I mean, that's spiritual mediumship, which isn't, I mean, what I do is, as a channel, is spiritual work, and I'm a medium because I'm serving as an intermediary. For some reason, if you want to know what's going on with your dead aunt, I may not be able to hear her where she is on the other side, but I can feel her as she was when she was here. I may begin to resemble her and help you with a dynamic. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Now, if you want to learn that, there are spiritualist churches all over the place that do teach. There are very good people teaching mediumship that you can find. Mm-hmm. That's actually something that people do train and study. I'm not a trained medium. I didn't understand anything that I do until I was doing it, and then I had to sort of let my life go into whatever overhaul was needed to be able to support that. But you can really find some very good people out there if you do some research. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Duncan and Paul.
Hi.
My question, so you mentioned a little bit about like tones and being communicated in that way.
Uh-huh.
Do you ever receive like visions as in like imagery?
Yeah.
And then sort of like, does that ever sort of like go into the idea of like visionary art or abstract art?
Yeah, it can. I mean, honestly, if you look at the work of like Bosch or Bruegel, people like that, they're painting the damn astral plane. I'm convinced. I really am. I mean, those people were seeing what was there and operating in the lower astral, and I think you can work at any number of levels. I access information clairvoyantly primarily when I'm in individual sessions with people, and I'll often see what their path is. I'll be given a visual depiction of how they're progressing, whether it's a water slide or pavers that you follow, or a rickety roller coaster, whatever it might be. I'll get visual information that I interpret. See, psychic work, which I say is different from channeling, requires interpretation. If I'm seeing something, if I see a wheel, it could be a metaphor, or it could mean like the wheel is about to fall off your car, and you should know it. Do you understand the difference?
Yeah.
So if you're getting those kinds of things, I think work with it. Truthfully, in all art, in all truly inspired art, I think we're being worked with. And the allowance for that, I think, will support it. So I don't know if I've answered your question or not, but...
Yeah, so there is a visual element to...
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah. Some people that do what I do, they're not channels as much, but psychics are getting all their information visually. Yeah. There's a guy in Little Italy who I think is a genius, who I've been seeing for years, who accesses information from me visually. And we work in similar ways, so he's somebody that I can go to when I have questions about what I'm getting or my own process of integrating some of this stuff. Other people hear, I primarily hear and feel. For me, the clairvoyance or the visual information comes in service to the others. Most people have one or two of their gifts more developed than others. That's been my experience. But most of us have access to all of them in different ways. Okay.
That's fascinating. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good.
Thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
I was just wondering if you have ever been a conduit for something that you didn't want to speak to. We talked a lot about fear. Has there ever been a time where you heard something, but you did not want to speak it?
When I'm channeling, no.
Okay.
When I'm channeling, I've had other mediums tell me that I have like velvet ropes around me, and I'm pretty, who's working with me knows how to handle it, you know? When I work with people sometimes in groups, I'll do one-on-one work. I'll bring people forward, and sometimes somebody's like, I've been depressed since I was 7. I don't know what's going on. I'll tune into the person, which is what I do first thing. I tune into them and essentially hear them or become them. If you ever saw like Ghost with Whoopi Goldberg, it's like that. I assume the personality. And once in a while, I'll hear a voice saying, "You will never get near me." And then the moment I like, or stay the fuck away, you know? Yeah. And my guides will have, every time that's happened, they've said, "Paul, stay out of this, we're gonna work on it."
That makes sense.
And then they go and they deal with it. And the releases that happen at that level are often things that have been held and been causing somebody pain for a terribly long time. You'll feel, literally, you can feel literally wind coming out of their body. And the whole room can feel it, because it's a release from the cellular memory at a level it's like wind. But I have not gotten involved in that because I don't think I'm equipped.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So that's how I've encountered it, but it's not my real work.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Hi.
Hi, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So my mother has experienced what doctors call psychosis, and in those experiences, she believes that she has come face to face with beings that are satanic or evil. Mm-hmm. I'd like to ask, are there evil beings? And obviously I'm asking because I would like to ask and be open, but I am afraid. And what is the advice?
Well, I think that there's low astral stuff that we can attach to. My guides don't talk about evil. They talk about high and low vibration. So they don't go into the judgment that we associate. But I actually, when I work with any group or any session, I work with a prayer of protection. And I do that not because I'm frightened of what's out there. I look at it like safe sex. It just makes sense. Do you know what I mean? It's like it makes sense to have an umbrella in the rain. There's nothing wrong with the rain. I just don't want to get wet. And like my grandma, and I use this example, you know, she was a nice woman. I didn't know her well. She was married about 5 times. She's not who I would go to on the other side for relationship advice. I don't need to go there, you know? Now, if you wish, I can tune into your mom, but I need her name to do that and see what that's about. Is that okay?
Yeah.
What's her name, please?
Susan.
Susan? Is the last name okay, too? It's okay. I'll see if I can do it anyway.
If you want to give the last name, I will edit it out of the podcast so it doesn't get uploaded.
It's easier for me to tune in, but it's not always necessary.
Everyone say a prayer of protection.
Let me see if I can tune into her. Well, this is her. This is her. She's actually... Well, this is what she's dealing with, I'll be honest with you. And she's actually looking for the fight. And she's kind of looking for the trouble, too. Do you understand this? But she's on high alert with whatever her experience is. Let me see if I can hear what's really going on. Illness, yes. I do think some of this is illness. I think it's just illness. You know, she's balanced. And there's... when people do have imbalances, they come and there are things that get attended to. You need not be frightened. I hear you need not be frightened. It's not your inheritance. I hear it's not your inheritance in this lifetime. In this lifetime would happen. I actually think it would have come already in some way. Do you understand this? Now, the mother will be fine. She's okay. They're moving the mother away. Can I have your name?
Amy.
Let me see if I can get you. This is how you come through. You come through like this. Am I allowed? Like that. Am I allowed? Do I get what I want? And you're actually saying, like, I don't know anymore. Yes. They're saying yes, and more and more. Stop being frightened of what can't be. Stop being frightened of what can't be, of what can't be. Stop being frightened of yourself. Stop being frightened of yourself. Use light. Use light when you work. When you work, say thank you for protection. Say thank you for protection. Don't be cavalier. Don't be cavalier, and say thank you. And say thank you for your own well-being, for your own well-being. That is necessary. That is necessary for any journey, period. And they're saying period, okay?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. My pleasure. All right. Hi.
Hello. Thank you for being here and answering our questions.
You're welcome.
I'm so thankful. Thanks. So, it's come towards the end of the line, but I noticed it was mostly men asking questions. And I guess I just have, for the guides maybe, or, anything else that comes up, how do we find, as women in this world or anybody else that feels like disempowered a bit at the moment, how do we find more balance, between the masculine and feminine, and how do we improve our relationships, especially when I know that everybody's in pain, and that's, what's going on right now, but maybe some practical everyday...
The guides are saying, actually, you're asking abstract questions when it's actually personal. So whatever this is actually personal to you and not about the general.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I have your name? Is that okay?
Yep, Liz.
Is last name okay?
Yep, Matt Crease.
What's the last one?
Matt Crease.
Let me see if I can get you. This is how you come through. It's my turn. You actually come through saying it's my turn. My turn. Do you understand this? And you're getting angrier and angrier as you say it. You also come through as if, I'm going to be honest, you're looking for some trouble. And that's what this is. I'm going to find it. And you're also saying, I'm going to find it because I'm looking. You're reinforcing. What they're saying is that you're reinforcing difficulty because you expect to see it. Challenge yourself. They're saying challenge yourself to look outside the predictable, to look outside the predictable. Your empowerment, finally, they're saying finally has nothing to do with gender. Finally, it has nothing to do. It has everything to do with realization that nobody has authority, that nobody has authority over you. The claim we gave you earlier. The claim we gave you earlier, I am free, 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 will support your liberation, will support you in liberation from any form of oppression, real or imagined, the true self. The true self, if you can understand this, can only be free, as you understand her. If you identify as her and align to that vibration and align to that vibration, you may see this in your world. You become a reflection. You become a reflection of the higher self, what you see in the world. And what you see in your world will be expressed at that level. You will no longer be seeking affirmation of what you say of what you say you don't want. Period. They're saying period. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, cool. I guess it was a good day to wear my Kali Ma t-shirt.
Okay, there you go. Thank you.
Thank you. Very quickly, sorry. How much time do we have?
10 minutes max.
10 minutes max. So just if you could flash me a 10. If you're in line and we don't get to you, I'm sorry, but we do have to wrap it up for the Bell House. So we've got 10 minutes. Go ahead. Sorry.
Hi. We're a self-selected, probably like-minded group. I was wondering if there are any ideas that most of us take as gospel that are actually incorrect, and we would be better off if we knew the truth.
They're saying you would be here all night. And that's really the problem. Almost everything that you see is just an idea, that you have inherited. Don't question the right ideas. You don't question the right ideas. You only question what you don't like, whatever you see. But everything you see is inherited by you, until you can claim independence. And until you can claim independence from the known, you will never know truth. You will never know truth. Your idea ideologies. Your ideologies in almost all ways are things you have inherited, are things that you've inherited, attached to, if you want to know truth. If you want to know truth, use the claim we offered you. Use the claim we offered you. I know who I am in truth. I know who I am in truth. I know what I am in truth. I know what I am in truth. I know what I am in truth. I know how I serve in truth. I am free. 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 This will shift your frequency. This will shift your frequency to support the way you are asking for, to support the awakening that you are asking for. Period. 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 And they're saying period. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much. I'm sorry to make it weird or make it base, but I wanted to know what the guides think about sex. So I'm relating to this French philosopher and literary theorist, Georges Bataille. I don't know if, okay. And he talks about how we're all in this, we're all in a state of discontinuity, and that sex can get us back to a state of continuity with one another. And so sometimes I think about that, like maybe sex is this thing where and sometimes I felt in my life like it's this quasi-mystical thing where we are like getting in touch with something divine, or maybe some expression of our true selves. And other times I think, no, it's just a fucking trap, and it's part of the kind of continual suffering of being a fucking human being. So maybe it's both. I was just wondering, if they ever talked to you about it.
Yeah, they have talked about it. They actually talked about it just this last week, and I don't think it's in the book. It was during a Q&A like this, and so we said, what about sex? And the guides pretty much say, it's wonderful, but you need to be aware of the divine in your partner in order for it to be a sacred act, and that the sort of the debasement of form is really the soullessness that we can attach to things. So I'm saying, and I'm not saying it right, their words are always better. So let me see if I can get something short from them. Sex is what you claim it as. They're saying sex is what you claim it as. Finally, you're always engaging. You're always engaging in vibrational accord. When you utilize the body. When you utilize the body as one of the ways to be in accord, you're responsible for that. You are in responsibility to that, to know others, to know who another is, to claim their truth, to claim them in their truth, to bless them as they are, to bless them as they are, not try to make them and not try to make them who they are not. We'll give you the support you need. We'll give you the support you need at whatever level of agreement, sexual included, that you might learn something through, period. In the second book, this is just me now, the second book they wrote, the Book of Love and Creation, they do a few pages on sex, which is actually really helpful if you're interested. But it's a longer thing. I think they're going to get into in a later book. Thank you.
Cool, thank you.
I think we only have time for one more question. You guys in line, I'm sorry. We've got a hard out. So one more question. Forgive me. We got to wrap it up. But one more question. I'm so sorry.
Hey, I'll just make it quick. About 10 years ago, I had an experience with a Ouija board that involved 4 to 5 friends who weren't spiritual people, although I had already been somewhat on that path. It was specifically in regards to spirit guides that had communications for us. I was actually warned that I'd be injured. Mm-hmm. We kind of wiped it off. About a few weeks later, I was actually assaulted by or involving somebody with an actual name that we got. Mm-hmm. All this very specific information had come through that day. Mm-hmm. So over the last 10 years, I've been wondering, was that something that could have been communication by... The way it was working is that it was actually pulling out of our hands. It was working on its own. And then I've been told through friends that went to psychics to tell me specifically not to mess around because I was playing with danger. Although I did get specific information and coincidentally lost the sheet of paper that contained all that information a few weeks later. I was told specifically that day or that evening after 6 hours to return a few days later and do it again because they had more communication for me. I never did. I was wondering if you can...
I tend to say don't mess with them. I'm of that school. I know, although I think Jane Roberts, who channeled Seth, opened up at a Ouija board, and I think it can be a powerful opening. I really do think it goes back to who you're talking to. And I think that 2 of the simplest things to be watchful for are anybody that tells you to be frightened, that tends to be low level, and anybody that tells you how great you are and tries to flatter you, because that appeals to the ego, and it seems to be a way that we get sucked into stuff. I don't get that from my guides. I get nurturing, but I also don't get
That's actually what I actually got, mostly nurturing and very specific family information through it. But the one thing that it said was, it was supposedly my grandfather, and he said that he was my closest spirit guide. And what he said was, come back on the following Monday. And I said, why? And then it slowly spelled out, because love.
Well, that's a nice answer, No,
but I'm saying, I've just lived with the idea. Is that something that we somehow could have spelled out on our own?
I actually get no, I can douse with a pendulum, but I've learned that unless I'm completely neutral to the question, I can control it with my thinking. So, it's why psychics, many of us don't read for ourselves, because we're invested in the outcome. And I think that that's not, the energy, the information that I get from myself from my guides is in the day, in the moment, and mostly about not making choices based in fear. When I ask, is this a good time to do this? Not wise, would be the answer I get. So you may have some ability, and it sounds like that was a productive communication for you. And,
It was even in foreign languages involving European descendants. It was weird. That's
that's not my stuff. That's more in the realm of spiritual mediumship and talking with the dead.
Great. I wasn't sure if you had much experience with that, but thank you.
Not a lot.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Very quickly, thank you so much for this. Do you have any workshops coming up in town, or how can people find you?
My website, it's just my name, Paul Selig, PaulSelig.com. There are workshops all over the country, all over the world. I'm back in New York, I don't know when. I'm based here, so I do workshops here every few months. But if you're on the website, there's a list of where I'll be. I do live streaming webinars where I channel and take questions pretty much every Wednesday, and that's up on my website as well. So there's lots of ways to work with the guides.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, guys. See you next time. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. And a round of applause for Evil Amos, everybody. Good night, you guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening, everybody. That was Paul Selig. Make sure you check him out over at paulselig.com. All the links to get to email will be at duncantrussell.com, or you can go to holysons.com. Hope to see you guys out on the playa. I'm heading out there tomorrow. I love you. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. I'll try to get a podcast out next week, but it's unlikely because I'm going to be a Burning Man, and there's no internet out there. But maybe anything's possible. I'll see y'all real soon. Hare Krishna.